play a game that feels almost tailor-made to appeal to you? This week's subject felt like that for me, and here's a surprise for you. It's not a Souls-like. I know, right? Crazy. You'd think that any game that I would describe as being tailor-made for me would have to have been a Souls-like, since I can never seem to shut up about them even in videos where they're completely irrelevant, you know, like this one. A little bit of backstory here. It's Friday the 22nd of July at the time of writing this script. This morning I finished the game Stray and wrote the script for that review. I'd hoped that the game would last me through the weekend at least after starting it on Thursday. It did not. So with the afternoon free, I downloaded an FPS I picked up at random from the PlayStation Store and gave it a go. Then, 2 hours later, I put the game down and came over to my PC to write this review because I'd finished the game. Seems a bit short, doesn't it? Though it is nice to have 2 weeks worth of games sorted for reviews. Makes me feel dangerously productive. It also freed up plenty of time for me to just sit back and play Dark Crusade for a bit. I really like that game. Nothing like a bit of Warhammer violence and some top-down strategy. Wait, that's not what this week's supposed to be about. What are we here for? Bright Memory Infinite follows Shalea. No, it doesn't, it follows Shelia. I just can't say the name right when I read it because I'm an idiot. A member of a supernatural counteragency whose job it is to investigate weird goings-on and put as many bullets into the things as it takes to turn them from a threat into dead. We start the game and we're contacted by our boss who is telling us that there's an anomaly that we need to go and check out, so we get dressed, hop in our jet and warp over there. What's funny is that you can change Shelia's costume in the main menu before you start the game, but she'll still have the animation for her basic costume where she's putting on her boots. Like, here's her tying up the laces on boots that don't exist because she's wearing heels and a dress. I'm not sure why you can do this, by the way, but you can. You can also make your guns colourful and have rainbows on them, which I obviously did. Within minutes of arrival, we're assailed by the armies of someone called General Chin, and please let that be right, as I cannot be bothered to double check right now. And we're introduced to the combat, and this is where the game absolutely shines. It shines so bright that if it was placed beside the brightest known star, it would outshine that motherfucker, albeit briefly. If you enjoy these videos and want to support the channel, then head over to patreon.com/RonicaReviews. It's only £1 a month to become a supporter. This will help me keep building the channel and keep bringing you content. And best of all, you'll get 24 hours early access to new review videos, a shout out at the end of said videos, and you'll be able to suggest games for me to cover. If you want something more tangible back for your support, then I have a T-mail shop where you can pick up some merchandise. I recently added these 2 new shirt designs, and there are plenty of other things on there for you to browse. Some other shirts, some tote bags, and even a jigsaw puzzle. Also, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe, so that way you never miss a video. Anyway, back to the review.
Jesus, I can barely follow what's going on screen.
Sorry, what was that? I was too busy throwing a dude into the air and cutting his nipples off. Bright Memory Infinite has combat designed by a complete maniac for complete maniacs. Your character has access not only to the typical FPS weapons, the assault rifle, the sniper, the shotgun, the pistol, but you also get a cool sword and a selection of weird powers courtesy of the strange rig you seem to be wearing. You might ask, why would you bring a sword to a gunfight? The answer of course being, because fuck you, the sword is cool. Just as an aside, I do hear how whistly my S's sound in a lot of these videos. I'm trying to sort that out, I'm so sorry. Bright Memory Infinite cares about only one thing, and that's making sure that the moment-to-moment action is as fun and engaging as it's physically possible to be. There is of course a plot. We're investigating the appearance of a black hole that is hovering over what looks like a Chinese village, and I'm so sorry if I'm mistaken. Don't take it personal, I'm a shut-in who knows as much about the world as I do about subnuclear fusion.
You know, it's not possible for a black hole of that size to exist that close to a planet without ripping it apart. Just saying.
Quiet nerd, I'm playing as a woman dressed for going clubbing with a high-tech sword and rainbow-patterned guns. I don't think the developers were very interested in reality. This game plays a lot like an over-the-top action movie that isn't trying to be deep or clever when it comes to its narrative. It's more interested in making sure that the set pieces and, well, the action are as top-notch as it's possible to be, because that's what the audience are there for. And aside from the occasional frame rate drop, I think it's all pulled off rather nicely.
Given your usual love of story, I can only surmise that you must have really loved the gameplay if the lack of a deep plot doesn't faze you.
Hey, whoa there, I never said it didn't faze me. I mean, it didn't, but I never said that. The gameplay is fast-paced and allows the player to seamlessly marry the use of conventional firearms to their selection of powers. These include being able to levitate enemies, pulling them in for punishment, performing quick dashes to evade enemy fire, and later on being able to power an earthquake punch. You've also got a sword and it's just as quick to use as your powers. You can go from shooting to cutting an enemy to bits without so much as a pause to blink. And you can also draw the sword quickly to deflect most attacks. I mean, you can't just stand there with the sword drawn deflecting attacks like a lunatic anyway. It's just noticed if you draw the sword at the moment you're about to be hit by a bullet, you deflect the bullet back towards the enemy. Kinda makes me feel like a Jedi just with a pink sword rather than a laser sword. I would describe the game as having fluid combat. It's easy to go from a stationary sniping position to sliding and shooting, to sword fighting, back to shooting, all in the space of a few seconds. You need to have a handle on your skills and weapons if you want to survive. There are a lot of standard soldiers running around, but we also have to deal with some temporal shenanigans when we fight ancient sword-wielding warriors and enormous beasts that wouldn't look out of place in a From Software title. This final boss dude especially. As you play, you find new weapons, which, as said before, are your typical FPS weapons, but they're all quite fun to use and have been designed to better enhance the flow of combat. Reloading is the only thing that disrupts the flow, but it's easy enough to just switch to another gun or pull out your sword, so it's hardly a complaint. The assault rifle can shoot these tracking bullets, the shotgun can set things on fire, the pistol fires a fuck-off giant explosive, and the sniper rifle plants sticky explosives. None of these are, strictly speaking, unique ideas, but they're all integrated well and maximise the fun.
Duh, thanks for noticing. Did you also like my upgrade system, which drastically improves the effectiveness of your abilities and alternate ammos?
Why, yes I did, game, thank you for asking. You find these green stones around the levels, and you can use these to purchase new powers or upgrade existing ones. One thing I notice a lot about games that have upgrade systems is that sometimes they just forget to make the upgrades actually work. Either that or the upgrades are so limited in their effectiveness that you might as well not bother having them. Luckily, Bright Memory Infinite remembers to make sure the upgrades actually feel like they've upgraded us. There was an immediate and dramatic difference in the effectiveness of each power after I applied an upgrade, which is always nice to see.
Would you say the game is perfect then?
Uh-oh, that's my cue to drop the positive and cheery thing and engage in some of that criticism I'm supposed to be doing. So my biggest gripe with the game is its length. I said 2 hours at the start of this video, and that was being generous. My playtime was, in fact, closer to 1 hour and 40 minutes. Now, just being short is not on its own a reason to dislike a game. Let's take something like What Remains of Edith Finch. It's a rather short game, and yet it's one of my all-time favourites. Both Portal games are a bit on the short side as well, but they're also fantastic. I could even argue that Demon's Souls is quite short compared to its Dark Souls siblings, and yet in none of these cases do I believe that the length is detrimental. Just being short isn't a problem, but when your game is as kick-ass as Bright Memory is, having the game be over in less time than it takes me to clean my bathroom is going to hit hard. I hit the end credits and I was like, what? No, please no, I want more shooty slashy fun times. Now I could simply replay the game, and yeah, I'm definitely going to. In fact, at time of actually recording this script, I have replayed it 3 times. But it isn't quite the same this time around, as I know what happens and what to expect. Another issue that can be seen with the short length is that the story never really takes off or has any impact, and our characters don't really get any development. This is another case of a plot only really existing to provide us a basic context for the things that we are doing, which isn't necessarily bad, but it isn't something that I want to see games rely on too much. I'd like to know more about the agency our protagonist works for, maybe learn a little bit more about the world that we're in, go on some more missions, maybe see some more wacky sights. I was left a bit confused by the end of the game, but part of me wants to look at it like this. Argyle Chalier is just an employee working for this anti-supernatural company and only ever knows about as much as she needs to know. This could mean that a lot of the time she's completing these missions without really knowing why any of it's going on or what the point of it is. And I'll admit, throughout the game, it did seem like she was just rolling with the punches without really knowing why. It almost sounded mundane to her, like she's seen weird stuff for so long that this just doesn't really faze her. Although that said, all of this would work just as well if we had more missions outside the black hole one. We could explore the stress of working for a company that battles the otherworldly and only ever reveals to us as much as the top brass feel we need to know. Perhaps we could see our character have to come to terms with the fact that she is merely a commodity herself, little more than a tool that the company uses to get shit done, and that they only care about her so long as she is useful to them. But that's just me, I love a good bit of story, I'm a whore for story. I hope you enjoyed my random bit of headcanon there. I saw in the script that I wrote down that I could mention that the graphics are a bit meh as well, but I wrote the script without really considering that. Having gone back to look at them, the graphics are fine. I mean, I wouldn't say they were meh, they're pretty nice. They do everything they need to do. The game boasts its graphics on the store page, and yeah, they're good. There's not really anything else to say about them though. Although that to me is the ideal state of graphics. When you don't really think about them while you're playing, then they're doing their job well. It's getting hard to find complaints with the game. I didn't even dislike the vehicle section or the stealth section in this game because both kept the pace up and only lasted as long as they needed to. Although I will say that the stealth section in this game was a little bit contrived. Get this, we can only use a cleaver to attack enemies from stealth because an EMP happened and all of our guns are electronic. But I still had fun in this section. There's plenty of cover to use, the guard takedowns are quite brutal and satisfying to watch, and we were given plenty of warning if we were about to be spotted. The game nails what it sets out to do so well that any complaint I could throw at the game would be like trying to kill Cthulhu with a toothpick. Bright Memory Infinite, whilst that title is utter dogshit, is a nearly flawless action experience that genuinely excited and engaged me. The game costs about 15 quid, so I guess I should ask, did I have an amount of fun that justifies the price? And yeah, I say I did. I guess I just find it hard to be mad at a game where I can gunfight on the wing of a moving plane or Hi there, it's Editing Ronica. I realised I was completely wrong about that price. It's actually $7.99. It's even cheaper. And even more worth the money. Cut ancient unknowable demons to ribbons with my weeaboo sword. Whilst I think the narrative could be flushed out a bit better and the game could stand to have more of itself, it's a genuinely fun and exciting game that hooked me from minute one. I guess I'm saying I recommend the game. I can understand why some might be hesitant seeing the length of the game, but for what it's worth, Bright Memory Infinite, fuck I hate that title, is a seriously fun video game. And now I have nothing left to say. The game is short, sweet and to the point, so I guess we can end it here. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go make some lunch, I think. I felt like a sandwich today. Nice tasty sandwich. We'll see you next time.
You also like my upgrade system, which drastically improves the effectiveness of your...
Within minutes of arrival, we're assigned? I wrote a word in the script wrong. Within minutes of arrival, we're assailed by armies of someone called... Oh, God. Within... shit. Within minutes... shit.
Given your usual love of story, I can